What's going on, YouTube? Baltmatrix here, and today we are taking a look at IF-EX06-10, the Asura Knights, otherwise known as, well, Iron Factory, Grimlock, Slag, Sludge, Snarl, and Swoop in their Cybertronian forms. They come in this single gift box. The back of the box is just pictures of the figures, and that's it. Very minimal packaging. Let's open them up and take a look. The first figure out of the box is Gram King, otherwise known as Grimlock. I mean, this is Grimlock. It's a very nicely made figure, holds together well as far as I can tell, and decent posability for his size. These figures are not the largest figures in the world. To give you guys an idea on the size, here is a current deluxe class Headmaster or Titan Master Chrome Dome. As you can see, they're roughly 3/4 of the size of a current deluxe. The look of the figure is good, and the paint is applied nicely. The overall aesthetic of the figure is exactly the War Within Grimlock, and his head sculpt is quite good as well, but his head is a little bit floppy. Each figure comes with their own accessories. Gram King comes with this nice red sword. Posability is okay, but he is rather top-heavy thanks to this backpack. Not a big deal, though, because really, you're just going to be posing him in sword poses anyway. The figure's transformation is fairly simple. Start by putting the arms straight down, making sure that the elbows are, well, somewhat locked. Then take the shoulder pads and fold them up like that. Then take the fists and rotate them, or I should say the forearms, and rotate them around 180 degrees. And it looks like that this should slide down to complete the treads. They actually don't. Then take the fists and turn them 180 so that the outside of the fist is pointing towards the outside of the vehicle mode. Come around to the back, pull the backpack down. That will allow you to flip the entire section up, or I should say the entire chest section up, and sandwich the legs together, and fold in the ankles and fold up the feet. And then take the entire backpack and close it over the robot head while making sure that everything is clear and out of the way. The last bits of the transformation are to turn the hips around 180 degrees, slide the bottom legs up into the body of the figure, and then collapse the arms, the front arms, and peg them into these little pegs that are right here on the outside of the, well, top of the vehicle mode. Gram King's vehicle mode is almost perfect. The big issue I have with the figure is that, well, the bottom legs, they will not collapse at all. So you can't get them up onto the point where they're supposed to be for the transformation. They just won't move, period. Those knees will not collapse. So that is a point off in my book, but overall, it's okay. I think the robot mode is vastly superior to the vehicle mode. There are just a couple of weird little issues that I have. The front treads just continually want to collapse inwards. They don't stay out like this. This gap here, the panel gap here that's showing at the top of the vehicle mode, and obviously the fact that you can't successfully transform him, at least on the back of the vehicle mode. It's not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but it's okay, and I can look past most of these issues. Next up is Siege Hammer, otherwise known as Sludge. The bot mode is excellent, and a definite interesting rendition of what Sludge was supposed to be in the War Within series. One major issue that I had with the figure that is thankfully solved at this point, I didn't realize he had heels. The heels are folded up in the backs as treads, and I only accidentally found them. They're nowhere in the directions at all. The sword that the figure comes with is really nice and looks a little bit different than Gram King's, and he also comes with this double-bladed axe, which folds up, and you can use it as a single chopping axe. The figure also has this giant cannon sitting on his back that can be unpegged, and then splits apart into multiple different guns. So you have the main barrel here, which wiggles off of this section, the silver section, and it doesn't come off easily, but believe me, it does. And then these barrels can combine and become another handheld weapon, and then the actual cannon itself, the barrel itself, becomes a handheld weapon. And I'll show you that in a second as soon as I can get this stupid thing apart. So the unit coming apart, he gets this giant howitzer, which then can also disassemble into a much smaller gun, like so, that he can wield in his hand, like that. So he gets that. And then the howitzer, or the giant cannon's parts, form this hammer, which is very cool. This piece, unfortunately, that's the barrel of the giant cannon, doesn't really go with anything else, so you don't really have any options with it, other than to kind of put it off to the side, or maybe combine it with somebody else's weapon. By far, Siegehammer has the most weapons of all the group, and he is very, very heavily armed, but he's a little bit plain. But I'm okay with that because, well, it's sludge, and that face sculpt is definitely sludge. Oops. Yep. Definitely sludge, definitely angry. Siegehammer's transformation is a little bit more complex than the predecessor bot we looked at. First open the chest and fold the head in, and actually be really careful when you do this, because it gets stuck easy. Then putting the arms straight down, turn the fists so that the inside of the hands is pointing forward. Turn the entire arms 180 degrees so the top of the forearms is pointing towards the front of the figure. And then fold the forearms up along the back of the rear of the arm and just snap them into place. And then take the arms and fold them up and get them lined up with the rest of the chest. Then come around to the back of the figure and flip out these little cannons that are on the tops of the forearms that I forgot to mention earlier. He even has more weapons there on the forearms. Next, come to the robot's knees and push the knees in so you pop out the struts like that and combine the legs together. This popping of the struts will then allow us to shimmy the legs up into the crotch, and they will peg in, and then we can push those sections down again. Fold the feet down, take the entire torso section and turn it 180 degrees while flipping up the butt flap there, and then put that flap back down. And then fold the arms up and actually peg them into place, and those pegs in the underarms, which is actually a little bit tougher to do than you might think. And lastly, take the cannon and plop it down on top. And here we have Siegehammer in his vehicle mode, and it is freaking awesome! It looks so cool! It is a tank that has posable turret. And it just looks so fearsome. It's got cannons here on the side, a big howitzer-type cannon, and then you can attach the, well, battle axe to the front or to the sides. It works really well. I like this mode a lot for Siegehammer. Next up is Trident, otherwise known as Not Slag. This bot mode is pretty cool. It's more well-balanced than the other two, but it does have some heal issues. They do have a tendency to snap into place a little oddly. Posability is okay, but all of the joints on this dude are super tight, so just be aware of that if you pick him up. Like the other knights before him, he comes with a couple of weapons, specifically 4. However, one was not in the box when I opened it. He comes with the sword that is very similar to the others, but slightly different designed. Very, very cool head sculpt. He has a big handgun, and then these little guns that, well, one of them is missing, as I said. Head sculpt is fantastic. Trident's transformation is definitely different than the other guys, except for this first step. Open up the chest and flip the head down into the chest, which is actually incredibly difficult to do. Come on. Well, we'll fold that down, and while we're doing that, we will then grab the gun or spike that he has here on the back. That should come out nicely. There we go. And according to the directions, you are supposed to fold his head in, and there we go. Got it. Like that. And then take the Trident part and stick it straight up like that. Turn the figure around and you see this panel here on the back. We'll grab it and fold it down like that. Then take the arms and fold them up along the back of the figure like so. Next, reattach the center spike that we pulled off from the back. And this is actually a little bit difficult. That is a very tight spot. Spread the legs open and reach the inside of the legs and flip out the inside of the legs to form the treads. Come around to the back and fold down the heels. And then back here is where these tiny little cannons are supposed to fit. But since we only have one, we really don't have to. Then we fold out the back of the treads on both sides and turn the legs around at the thigh and flip the tank treads up and peg them into place. The tank mode that we end up with is much more compact than I thought it was going to be, and really does remind me more of a World War II tank than anything else in the line. It is a really neat tank, though, and it's kind of like a squat combat tank. A little hollow in the back, but that's okay. One thing I did not tell you guys correctly is the thing that flips the treads up is this little hinge that's inside just underneath the thigh swivel, what is effectively part of, or I should say just underneath the knee, is this little swivel, and that was throwing me off, but figured it out. Overall, Trident has an excellent little tank mode. Next up is Gladius, otherwise known as Not Snarl, and this is my favorite of all of the robot modes in this set. It's my favorite because of all the gold, and quite frankly, I just really like that gold right there in the chest, and he's got, well, he really reminds me of the original G1 figure, and the head sculpt is really nice. If I could focus in, it just looks kind of like, hey, what's going on? Like the figures before him, he comes with a sword, a individually molded sword, and a gun. That's it. Nothing crazy. Posability is pretty good, though he is a little bit top-heavy, but not as bad as the other guys. Joints are tight, but not too tight, so you can't get some poses off with this little dude. Gladius' transformation is just as complex as all the others. First, we have to pull off these wing sections and put them off to the side. Then take the arms and fold them 90 degrees at the elbow. Reach underneath the forearms and open them up so we can flip the fists into the forearms. Which, actually, not that easy to get these forearm pieces open. You've got to have a little bit of nails in order to do it. With the arms flipped up, we then reach down to the crotch and flip up the golden crotch piece, and then twist the legs 180 degrees. And down by the feet, we open up these panels that are inside, or I should say the back of the legs, like so. Next, flip the legs up, like this. And you gotta kind of spread the legs out to flip the legs up. And then we can close these little doors. Theoretically, we can close them. Just be careful of the knees. And then once we close the doors, we can combine the legs like that. Close the crotch piece down and snap that into place. Come to the back by the head and flip the gold section over the robot head. Next, by the spines, you'll grab the chest and flip it 180 degrees up towards the head, like that. Do that for both sides. Then grab the arms and bring them in, and they will snap into place, like so. This is such a neat vehicle mode because according to the original War Within comic, he was supposed to be kind of like a swamp buggy or a dune buggy, and he's a three-wheeled vehicle to boot, and I find that fascinating. Now remember those little wings that we had earlier? You're supposed to pull them off, flip the connector around, and then attach them here to the sides of the vehicle mode. And I honestly have no idea what this purpose serves other than it looks kind of cool-ish. Or you can flip them straight out and make giant bladed saws to cut down your enemies with. Now that is very cool. Overall, I really like this alt mode because it's so different from all the others. The other three guys are versions of tanks, and then you got this guy who's definitely not a tank. Last up is Crossbow, otherwise known as Not Swoop. The figure is really, really cool. I like the look of this figure quite a bit, as he comes with his own sword, which is a very G1 sword, and he comes with 2 missiles that do or should fire, but mine really don't. I keep trying and they don't actually do anything. Overall, his robot mode is really, really neat. Though it is a little bit mono-gray, unfortunately, except for the center, which you have the gold and the blue, and the head sculpt is quite nice. Crossbow's transformation is interesting. To start off with, grab the gold piece in the front, unpeg it from the body, and fold it as far down as it'll go. Then take the head and push it, well, don't push it, push the top of the head up as far as that will go. Grab the entire backpack and flip it forward until it stops just behind the golden piece like that. Take the arms, turn them so that the inner forearms are pointing towards the outside of the figure, then rotate the arms around and in like so. Then we will collapse the elbows like this so that they have this double hinge on them, and do that for both sides. And then flip the arms up around to the back and then peg the bottom of the forearms into these sections here. So flip them up and peg them into what was the back. Next, split the legs open all the way as far as they will go. Come down to the toe and the heels and fold them down. Grab the gold beak, push it all the way down until it snaps into place. Then take the legs, flip them up, and the inside of the upper thigh will peg in, and then the legs will come around like that. One thing I did forget to show you is that these silver parts will open up to form landing gears, and you're supposed to take the legs and turn them 180 degrees at the thigh swivel, and then fold them up, and the bottom of the wings will peg into the front of the shins, like that. So we've got landing gears, and everything holds together well. And then we just fold the wings out, and that's it. And that is quite an awesome vehicle mode, especially for Swoop. It's very, very, very close to his original G1 mold, but it's so cool. It looks like a Transformer would turn into some kind of jet like this. I really, really think this is awesome. Overall, this set is pretty cool, and the vehicle modes are all unique and different, and the figures are all unique and different. If I had to pick favorites, I would have to say Crossbow is my favorite, followed by Siegehammer, and then Not Snarl, Trident, and Grim King, or Graham King, whatever his name is. Though that would be the order that I would put them in. Now, one thing I did forget to show you guys, or actually isn't even in the directions, the set comes with this little double missile launcher. This is supposed to be held by Graham King. Doesn't even show up in the directions at all. So gang, at the end of the day, I'm not sure I could totally 100% recommend this set. Don't get me wrong, I still think the set is pretty cool. And my favorite figures to play with are Crossbow, Siegehammer, and Gladius. Trident and Graham King, I'm not a huge fan of either of those figures, but they're not bad. Iron Factory continues to make some really interesting figures, and I'm glad I bought the set. Definitely glad I picked it up, and I did pick this up over at BigBadToyStore.com. But there are a few things that I don't like. I don't like the fact that the paint is just very, very dull. The only vibrant or really vibrant color we have is here on Crossbow, and that's the blue. I would have liked to have seen a little bit more artistic license there, but I understand why they didn't do that. Siegehammer definitely has the coolest amount of weaponry by far, but I wish there was more handheld weapons. Now, each figure comes with a sword and a gun, which totally appreciate that, and I did find that other gun that was on Trident. It was stuck behind Crossbow. But I would have loved to have seen maybe some more axes or just a little bit more handheld weapons. That's just a personal thing. Overall, the set is just fine. The transformations are each interesting, if not a little bit painful. My fingers really do hurt after transforming all of them for you guys in this video, but it's nothing compared to some really bad third-party figures. Overall, I like the set, but I'm not sure I would recommend it. Thank you for watching my video review of the Iron Factory Asura Knights. I'm Baltmatrix, and as always, I'm going to ask you to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will catch you guys next time.